Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Teacher Training Academy 2024. My name is Bartłomiej Janiak and I will be the host of today's session. I can see that people are joining. So if you could use your chat and type if you can hear me and if you can see the slides. Okay, Angelo, you are the first one. So it's good. It means that the chat works fine. Confirm, Emil, thanks a lot. Yes, very good, Anna, good. We'll be using chat from time to time, so I appreciate your interaction. Hello from Georgia. Good afternoon from Poland. Okay, close. So today we are enjoying quite really weather, saying that, yeah, the spring has arrived, so hopefully it will remain the same. So I hope that the climate and the weather is good on your side as well. This is the first session, and actually I'm quite excited because this is the opening session and this is the third edition of the Teacher Training Academy. And every year we try to make something similar yet a bit different to offer a different educational opportunities and different educational to address different educational needs. So the whole training program will last till the end of 2024. And these are the sessions that we've prepared for you. So today we'll talk about perseverance in teaching development. My idea was that we need to start with something that to address the element of energy, the element of motivation, the element of having in mind the goal and following the goal no matter what, or quitting if it's not accessible. So we'll be this session is close to my heart because this is the thing that I do in my business sphere of life. I'm gonna tell you a bit about it in a second. Then in April, we'll have a session about online testing in general, about the whole structure of AI and the accuracy of AI within the online testing. We'll move into the history. We'll talk about the elements. So hopefully the elements will help you to understand the whole system behind the online testing. The accuracy, okay, why is it unbiased? How can you trust AI within the testing reality? Then we'll have the sessions with Mike Mayer, our director of the Global Scale of English. Really worth listening to this person. So we'll talk about the idea behind using the appropriate placement within the language development. And I'm sure you as a teachers, you are fully confident that the one of the most important thing is to make sure that your students get into the right group, because then you have mixed ability students. In most likelihood, you'll be able to see you'll have the mixed ability students anyway, but the more precise the placement, the better the likelihood of a smooth start. And then we'll have the session there are 2 sessions or 3 sessions, which is called the practitioner's experience. So then we'll talk about our solutions, but from the practical point of view. These sessions will be for those who think about introducing those solutions into their own teaching reality, whether they're running the language school, individual courses, about the really tangible steps that you need to address if you want to make it work. So then in August, we're gonna have something about measuring the students' progress. The same followed by the session with the practitioner's experience that will also address measuring progress for young learners. And then the October one will have Kamil Petrick, the person, the speaker and the trainer, the academic teacher who's been working with us for quite a time, and he will share his insights on developing language skills when it comes to the preparation for international certificate. And the last session in November, this is the Pearson English International Certificate practitioner's experience. So we aim to have a really nice, lively conversation on these practicalities, on preparing students towards international certificates. So this is the whole program. Of course, we have a Teacher Training Academy website where you can register for all the sessions, where you can see the agenda, well, you can learn about the sessions that we plan. By the end of the session, for those of you who attend the sessions, you'll get a certificate, and I will prepare, the speakers will prepare for you. So this session, I will be responsible for sharing you this PDF, editable PDF. I will put there my key takeaways that I think are worth remembering, but this page is editable. So once you get the file, feel free to add your own ideas if you want to remember, and you can keep this PDF. Please remember that the certificate, this is the lesson from the last year, is also editable. So it means that once you get a certificate, you can put your name there. And I will share with you the whole agenda with the registration link again, so that it will be in a single email. And for those who attend the 7 sessions altogether, so by the end of Academy, so we'll see the attendance rate for those who attend 7 sessions, then we'll share with you the gift pack. So hopefully you'll get some practical tools to use, to experiment with in your teaching practice. And of course, the certificate, the PDF and the feedback. Sorry. This is my son just gave me a toy so that I would feel comfortable when it comes to delivering the session that he promised me in the morning, and he remembered it because we've got the afternoon right now. So this is Edmund, his favorite toy. Okay, so you'll get a certificate and you'll get a feedback. That's a lovely present. Yes, this is the energy and the motivation. So I got a seal as well. So hopefully this is the end of his coming to my room and just sharing the toys with me. Anyway, thanks a lot. So you'll get the email from me with all the important information. And now the session, the perseverance in teaching development. So I've been doing various sessions and workshops for more than 10 years. My professional background is in coaching, in the psychology of motivation, and right now I'm going through the post-diploma studies in the crisis intervention. So the motivational element in individual sessions and the group sessions, it's quite important. It's like once you set a goal, it's like running your own exam preparation course. There are several elements that you need to remember when it comes to staying in action, just not following, not changing the main goal for the other smaller ones, just because of the fact that something is missing in the main course. So I will share with you some elements, some psychology, some tools and strategies that could potentially help you stay on track till the very end. And we'll talk about the end. So we need to address the final element as well. And before we move on, there is a first question. If you could use the chat and answer the question. So what keeps you going? What motivates you to keep going when you are faced with obstacles on your way? Educational, business, or private? The light at the tunnel. Okay, so there is a light. So there is a higher purpose. Okay. There is an element reaching my goal, the mindfulness, Vanessa, the sense of purpose. The students, oh, yeah, and you love the challenge. So you challenge yourself, okay? So there is an element of this, okay? Let's see who's gonna win. The commitment, Emilia, okay? The positivity, enigmatic positivity. And the inspiration, I go back to the success stories. Basically, you love your job. Thanks a lot. That's the higher goal, that you love the job. There is a person who's saying self-motivation. Okay. So my passion for teaching. Okay. So there is this inner energy for teaching, and great. So if that's the case, I do really hope that you will keep this energy when just setting up a new goal, then the goal in the new territory, or using new digital solutions that you have never done before. the challenge, coming out of the comfort zone. I'm going to tell you about comfort zone because there is one element which is really important. So when you look at APA, the American Psychology Association, and you type the word perseverance, you will have two definitions, the definitions that are visible on the slide right now. So it means that you just go into this continuity aspect and you repeat a particular behavior despite the cessation of a initiating stimulus. Okay, so something that was prompting you at the very beginning is no longer available, but you still keep going. And there is this second definition, which is closer in this understanding, is like you maintain the course of action. And you just keep a task and finish it despite the obstacles, because sooner or later you can just stumble. There can be some elements which is difficult to predict, and then you just keep on going despite the fact that going gets tough. So because you are challenged, because you love your job, because there is a higher purpose, because there is an element. So the theory is really beautiful, and the paper and the slides, they accept everything. The practice is a bit different, okay? And I will start with a wonderful professor, worth reading books of this professor. This guy is called Brian Little. He studies personality. He studies psychology of motivation. He talks about perseverance. He talks about goals. He had a TED talk one about personality, one time of personality. He wrote several books, Brian Little, and he talks about a story that whenever he opens a lecture, as you're opening the classes of your students, and usually he asks a question like, how are you doing? And this is the typical icebreaker that people say, how are you doing? I'm fine, thanks. I'm fine, thanks, etc. Icebreaker, there is no commitment inside. It's just the phrase. And at some point, he made a decision to repeat the question, but he formulated the questions a bit differently. He asked, how are you really doing? What's really behind, or what's really in your life right now? And this small word, one extra word, made a huge difference in what those students said at the very beginning, because it turned out that for some reason they understood this question as a question asking about what's really going on in my life. And they started sharing with him their own stories, their own personal projects, because Brian Little he doesn't talk about goals, he names it personal projects. So this is your personal project. And they were sharing various stories. This is just the sample examples. So some of them said they're like, okay, I'm trying to stop eating junk food. Some of them saying like, okay, I'm trying to go through a divorce, or to go through my parents' divorce. I'm trying to survive it. I want to start accepting myself, and I want to start a company by the end, etc. I can lose the weight for the wedding. So endless lists of questions. New Year's resolutions, yes. So these are the personal projects. So to get who are you really? Yes, this is the talk. Who are you really? It's a nice gentle explanation to getting the information about who is an introvert, who is an extrovert. What about neuroticism? And there is a book which is accompanying the tech talk, really short one, but funny one, a witty remarks, and worth reading this guy. So these are the personal project. And normally in this analysis, and you can do it with your students, or you could do it with yourself, because the first step in this perseverance is you need to formulate your personal project or goals. So the first instruction is like you take 20 minutes or something, and you start writing down everything which is in your life happening right now that is important to you, that you want to accomplish something, that you want to finish something, that you want to change something, anything that you deem important, okay, like endless list for 20 minutes or something. And usually people come up with 20 or 30 ideas. Then out of those 20 or 30 ideas, if you follow this instruction, it's like you need to select at least 10 which are very important for you right now, the 10 you'd like to focus. And then those 10 probably means that these are the personal project you'd like to start, you'd like to continue, or you'd like to accomplish at the very end. And then the next thing, which is really interesting, and not many people in coaching or in training do these activities, because they talk about the goal should be smart, yeah, the realistic, achievable, time bound, and so on, so on, so on. And they design the plan and they work towards this goal. However, before you move into this goal description and in this plan description, there is one thing which I recommend you to do. Because yes, this is this element. You just create a simple table, as you see in the slide. Usually the columns are longer because there are 10 columns horizontally and 10 columns vertically. So this is just the sample to give you a flavor. And you put those goals, the same goals horizontally and vertically in the same order, okay? And then what you do, and you can do it with your students, by the way, so it's not only for you, but you'll benefit for it as well, but you can do it with your students if you teach a kind of classes and you work of your students' development. And then what you do is you rate the level of influence of a particular personal project or goal on different goals that you are currently pursuing in your life. Because in most likelihood, we don't have the situation that the person has only one goal in life. There is a universe of those goals. And then you rate. Either you put 2 pluses when one project has a really positive effect on the other project, is facilitating the other project. You put single plus if it's positive, okay? You put 0 if the influence neutral, it doesn't really matter. You put minus if a project A has a negative influence on project B, and you put 2 minuses if the project is having really negative influence on the other project. Probably make it impossible to complete. And once you complete the table, this is just the sample, okay? Because all the people will have their own explanations. So you can see that start and run new exam preparation course might have a negative impact for losing weight for the wedding in June for some reason, because this is the person's story, but it will have huge positive impact on getting advanced teacher qualifications, because once you start running preparation course, you will learn something which will enable you to put more documents in your folder, and so on, so on. So you rate every single project separately and you judge. And then when you look at the matrix, you will see, maybe, because this is my experience in individual sessions, that sometimes people pursue projects which are conflicting in nature. So if you follow one project, it will be very difficult for you to follow the other one, because the first one has negative influence. For example, it will consume the majority of your assets. And by the time you finish project A, you might not be able to devote as much energy as you'd like to in project B or C. So the best option that you would have supporting projects. So the projects, several projects or several goals which are really in line with a single category, okay? So this is the matrix. You can just print it out. You can design in a Word document. You can share that with your students. And this is something to start even before you proceed. And the other observation by Brian Little was that he used to run those psychological sessions or therapies. But then it's like anti-burnout strategy when you get tired and you can move out of a single action. So he started teaching again, but he was just doing, he was just clearing up all the documents and paper, and he was listening to his sessions because they were recorded with clients. And his observation were that people have make 5 fundamental mistakes when it comes to creating, designing their own goals. The first one is with the birds. So as you can see, this is the goals which are in conflict with each other. So this is what you just saw. So one element, one goal is in conflict with each other. That's why sometimes people fail, because they run out of energy, they run out of material things, they run out of support, they run out of assets, of anything. So the goals, people have a tendency to create goals which are in conflict. Then the second option, those lights. So people have a tendency to have complete chaos in goals. So it means the goals are scattered through every possible domain in life, okay? They are not channeled in one direction, but they have all the possible spheres of life, and they're trying to accomplish everything. If you have all the possible spheres of life, even in education, you're trying to build an exam preparation course, then you are trying to change the role, and then you're trying to teach a different group on a different subject, then you're trying to use a different course books, and then you're trying to renovate your flat, and then you're trying to build your individual career as a painter, and then you're trying to buy a puppy, and then you're trying to lose weight, etc. The goals are scattered everywhere. If they are scattered, it means that you'll have to scatter your resources as well. So this is the second typical mistake. The third one, this is the universe. We have a tendency to make goals which are not really specified. So he gave an example like, I want to be a better teacher, or I want to be a more present father. So the very simple description is so general that you can hide anything you want in there. And if it's so generic and so superficial and so universal, it will be very difficult for you by the end to evaluate the project. Because what does it mean to be a better teacher? It's like spending more time with students during the school break, being more energetic during the lesson, or giving a harder tests. Anything could be in there. So the more precise you are, the better the chances to have a good starting point. This is the third one. The fourth one, he called them, these are the self-fulfilling goals, that they are 100% sure to happen. Like a teenager says, I want to be an adult person. That's it. And that's his goal. It will happen in all likelihood. And the fifth one, this is a beautiful term which I want you to study and I want you to learn about, which is called the planning fallacy. So we have a natural tendency to underestimate the amount of time, the amount of money, the amount of physical skills, the amount of energy a particular task will require for us, okay? Can you think for a while, and maybe, I hope that you experienced it some time ago, think about the last renovation you did in your flat, in your home, in your room, whatever the choice. The last renovation you had in the place where you live. And if you could share me your initial assumption of how long it might take, and then if you could tell us the reality. Okay, so what was your initial assumption about the time it will take and the reality? Think about renovation. It could be renovating a flat, it could be renovating the whole one single room, and usually people make a plan and they say it will take me this amount of days. Then in reality, expectation 3 months, reality 8 months and 3 weeks. Yes, that in all likelihood, majority of people will end up in this category. So initial expectations were really super optimistic, and the reality was much bigger. So this is the example of a planning fallacy. Sydney Opera House is the best example. Initial costs, initial assumption for Sydney Opera House were about $7 million. The final costs were around $102 million. Okay, there is another example in the literature, frequently quoted. Denver Airport. When it was finished, there were around 300% financial overruns. And my favorite one, this was the question asked to students. This is my favorite one because it has to do a lot with education. They were asked, how many days will you need to finish your master thesis in the best possible scenario and in the worst possible scenario? And students answered that it will take me around 28 days. In best possible scenario, it will take me around 48 days in the worst possible scenario. And then they waited with the reality and they checked the results, and majority of students needed around 55 days to finish their diploma project, even way longer than the worst case scenario. So when you think about perseverance, you need to take account the planning fallacy. How long it will take you to finish the project, to start and prepare and run exam preparation course, to design something, to gather a group of students. And at the very beginning, if people are just learning about it, it is safe to assume that it will take you at least 50% more than the original planning. So, oh, someone wrote that I can't hear you anymore. Can you hear me? If you could type it. Yes, okay. So Chiara, probably that's the fault on your side. So fingers crossed that you'll solve it. So the initial assumption, and then add 50% of the time and the 50% of the cost required, and you will see this will be the very safe zone. And then there are two only words that we need to address when it comes to setting up something, a personal project, and then learning how to persevere. How and why? How is about, is the project you are trying to implement manageable? It means whether you can control the reality and you can control the project and you can take action to make it come through. The other one is why, which is the meaning. What is the meaning behind the project? Okay. And looking at the reality, we can see that there are some trade-offs between these two categories. And those trade-offs sometimes are the traps that we fall into. The first trap is that people pursue projects which are highly implementable, but they are essentially meaningless. There is nothing more, there is nothing greater behind this project. I can control the project, I can manage the step, I can manage the action, but they are meaningless for me. Okay, they are not aligned with my, for example, core values as a teacher. Like someone wrote, I love teaching and I love my students. So what is the core value behind it? Or people pursue projects which are very high in significance, but they are impossible to manage. So these are the higher purpose and the core values. Yes. So the second trap is those people in teaching reality, in business reality, in life reality, when they talk about project, as you listen to them, is like, oh my, it's really significant. And it's really high order project because it is serving something way bigger than your class, etc. But they are impossible to manage. So they are so complex in nature that it's very difficult to pursue them. So probably you will now know, so what you need to look for in this teaching development, you need to select the project which has a really important meaning for you and the project which is manageable. That once you'll set the element, complex in nature, yes, which is aligned to your core values, to what you really want to achieve as a teacher, but then manageable in means which is possible to achieve, so you can control the reality. So the two elements to start with. And then in perseverance, because we are closing to the perseverance, you will hear two elements. You will hear the self-control and the self-regulation. Sometimes self-regulation is used in various literature, but Julius Kuhl, the psychologist and an expert, one of the experts in motivation, he divided self-control and self-regulation. Can you guess the difference between the self-regulation and self-control? Which will be more important in perseverance, in just getting things done and achieving something? Both, some people say both. So when it comes to perseverance, the self-control will be something that you need to develop. So the self-control, yes, rather, as you wrote, not letting go. So think about, for example, a marathon runner or a skier, long-distance skier. When you just observe the Olympic competitions, especially those long-distance disciplines, and there is a camera guy filming the runner, and you look at his face is not showing any signs of self-regulation. His face is showing that he's struggling to get things done. Okay, so the self-control is the ability to keep you on track. Anna, both are important, yes. In perseverance, self-control is likely to be the key role to keep you in track despite the fact that obstacles happen. Self-regulation, as some of you wrote, is just the ability to self-regulate yourself, just to come back to the balance, to restore the energy. Yes, this is important. However, look at the situation that, for example, there is a person who is trying to cut down on sweets and to lose weight, like for the wedding. And then, like 2 weeks, pure success. And then I'm sitting at home. I am the person trying to lose weight, which is not the case, but let's imagine. And then my partner comes home and brings a nice bag of warm donuts from my favorite bakery. And then I say to myself, I've been trying really hard today, and I had really important meetings, and I think I deserve something good for myself. And I just don't feel like keeping in line all the time. Maybe a small donut would make a day. I think I deserve something. So this is what you will see in self-regulation. However, this self-regulation is not in line with your personal project, because you can choose something completely different other than donut to self-regulate yourself, which will be in line with your personal project of losing weight. So then you need to employ the self-control, saying, okay, I've had a hard day and I think I deserve a reward and I need some good elements to happen, but you choose self-control and you choose something different instead of a donut. Okay, so I wanted you to see the element of self-regulation, because the self-regulation, it is good if self-regulation is also in line with your personal project, because then when you keep eating donuts as a reward, So what is the reason behind trying to lose weight and keeping self-control if you regulate yourself with something which is in total opposition to what you're trying to achieve? Okay. Self-control is for the discipline and self-regulation is for the balance. Yes, I agree. In perseverance, the discipline plays the main role because you just keep on going despite the obstacles, but you need to know how to regulate yourself effectively. And these are the characteristics that play important role whether you'll be able to execute the self-control. The first element, whether your goal you're trying to achieve is attractive for you as a person, as a teacher, whether your goal of designing a new exam preparation course is attractive for you as a teacher from your perspective of your core values and your teacher development. This is the first element. The second element, it depends on the likelihood of goal achievement, because the goal could be really attractive for me, but impossible to achieve. Because, for example, the headmaster or a different amount of money designed for new exam courses is not available this year or within the next 2 years. So how likely is it for me to achieve this goal? The third option, the self-control depends on your strategies to delay gratification. And once you finish the webinar or tomorrow, just type in the marshmallow experiment and watch the TED Talk or watch the video or read the book. So there is a book, Marshmallow Test. So these are your abilities to delay gratification, because once you set yourself for action and the award is a long distance, for example, you could build your own language school and it's not going to happen within the next half a year or maybe 1 year. The long distance award would be within the next 5 years. So these are your abilities to delay gratification, okay? Not to consume the donut which is lying on the table. It depends on the time perspective, whether your temporal orientation is future orientation or the present orientation or past orientation. So past orientation, so those people who stays always in the past, they keep thinking about things that could have been different, etc. The present orientation, yes, we talk about mindfulness, etc., but it's also hedonistic elements, okay? I want the donut here and now, nothing else matter. And the future orientation, so those who are future oriented are likely to delay gratification because they wait for something bigger to happen. We know from the research that it's also dependent on the level of conscientiousness. So how can you just follow the chosen path, do the things you're supposed to do step by step? And it's also dependent on the action orientation. When you look at yourself, you will see that all the people, you function in two modes. Either you are in the state orientation or action orientation. State orientation, thinking all the time, action, doing, making the steps and seeing the things happening, experiencing failures, etc., etc. Second option, because some people make this type of personal projects and they are called avoidance goals. So they usually have something, I'm trying not to lose something. I'm trying to avoid something, okay? And they say it as if it's very natural. However, what we know from the research, that if you make avoidance goals, so trying to avoid something, to avoid experiencing something rather than experiencing something else, several things happening when it comes to perception, attention, mental control, memory, emotion, volition, so the reason to do things and the behavior. So I'm trying to not to be, I don't know, rejected from the language team. I'm trying not to lose my position at work, etc., etc. So I'm trying to avoid something. And these are the things that are happening. The avoidance goals are related to perceiving new information coming to you as a threat. Okay, so when you see that there is new information, you're likely to see, okay, there is a potential threat in it, which means that I'm in danger. From the point of attention, those people have a higher sensitivity to negative information because avoidance goals means you're trying to protect something. It's more difficult for them to stay focused, and it's easier for them to search for negative events in the past, confirming that they should be vigilant and they should look for dangers and threat. More likely to experience anxieties and worries. So this is like when you see the option as an opportunity or you see the option as a threat. When it comes to doing something, they usually say that I have to do it, okay, not I want. And the behavior, because they are trying not to lose, their tendency is to stay out of the goal relevant situation, because there is always an element of losing, not gaining, okay? Not lose humanity, okay? This is the elements, yes. So this is the complex of, as you see, it's not the best frame of mind to persevere when you appraise new information as a threat, when you experience anxiety and worry, when you experience, when your memory is biased and is searching for the negative events in the past, and whenever your radar is very focused on negative information in your surrounding. Okay, so there is a version approach goals, you're trying to achieve something, versus avoidance goals, you're trying not to lose something. And now putting those elements in a really wonderful description of phases people go through when they make changes in life. So this will serve you to see that sometimes taking action is not the best option. Okay, can you look at the pictures and can you try to name those phases? Okay, the first one is a example. This phase is like the person doesn't see a problem. Okay, but let's start with this thinking woman. Okay, how would you name this phase when it comes to making a change? Curiosity. Okay, they carries, yeah, evaluation, decision making, yeah, pros and cons. Good. What about the next one? What will happen? Yes. Head full of thought. Thanks a lot. What about the third step? Planning. That's easy. What critical reasoning? What about the fourth step? The fourth step is action. That's true. Thanks a lot, Diana. Action making, Alexandra. And the final one, I was trying to find a photo that would represent the final one. Support. Yes, sustaining. That's true. So this is in image and this is in word. Trans theoretical model of change by James Prochaska. So it's good to look at it as a kind of framework to see where you potentially are in your personal projects, or your students could be in your personal project, because knowing those stages could help you to take action to boost your perseverance. So pre-contemplation, the trans-theoretical model is used with making big and small changes, including like trying to lose weight, trying to quit smoking, so those, even the addictive substances. But then Prochaska, there is a book, Thriving to Change, on Amazon. I think is a quite fresh one, 2016 or 18, I believe. And when they describe the project and they talk about all the stages. So the pre-contemplation stage is a stage where people generally don't have any problems in life, even if someone will tell you, like will tell Alexandra, I think you should start running extra exam classes. And then Alexandra will say, well, no, I'm fine the way I'm right now. It's impossible for me to do it because of the school, because of the atmosphere, because of the weather, because of the students. Generally, that's why should I do it? Okay. So pre-contemplators usually say that they are not planning to take action within the next 6 months or so. It's not that they don't see a solution, they don't see the problem in the first place. Contemplation is a bit different. Contemplation is like, for example, you will start thinking about it. Oh, what could be the potential benefit of running an exam preparation course? What if I include digital solution in my teaching classes? How this would change the teaching reality? Okay, you just start to read about it. Okay, so this is the contemplation is a characteristic feature is like people learn about potential change. One thing is like no action is taken in contemplation phase. People just contemplate pros and cons, etc., etc. And this phase is a trap for some of the people because people can stay in the contemplation phase for ages. Probably you'll know fellow teachers of human beings who always say that I'm starting my new business. I'm just learning, I'm reading books about my new business. I'm just starting my new teacher qualification and just I keep thinking about it, daydreaming, I considering possible and negative effects, etc., etc., but they never make any step forward. That's why they feel good, but it's a trap. One of the research about the 200 smokers, around 200 smokers that they were in the contemplation phase. They stayed in this phase for 2 years. Just total concentration, discussion, reading books, etc., etc. It is essential, but the most important is to go into the action state. So now when it comes to the preparation, when you are in the preparation period, so these are the type of people who usually say that I'm planning to take action within the next month. So for example, if your idea is to implement new placement solution or the benchmark solution, so these are the people that say, I'm planning to use benchmark within the next month or so with my students. Usually those people took some small action before, and sometimes they failed with this action. So they say things like, I tried it before, but it didn't really work. There were some missing parts. So I took some steps, but it's never 100%. So for example, they say that I used level test with 2 of my students and I'm having 50 of them. So it's not 100%, just they just had a flavor of it. At this element, what you really need is a very down-to-earth plan from A to Z with all the potential steps and tangible steps that you will take. Last year Academy, I talked about mental simulation, so you can watch it. So this preparation period is also for planning obstacles and what you do to avoid those obstacles if they happen. Okay, so the preparation. Then the people move into action. And the action phase is another potential trap. Now, can you tell me why? Why action phase could be a potential trap? You've got contemplation, which is a potential trap because you can stay there for ages. What about action phase? You can fail and never try again. Yes, potentially. But there is a different element of trap. Doing meaningless things. Yes, this is what we discussed, Agnieszka, which I agree. When it's manageable, but it's meaningless. Okay, it doesn't take you anywhere. Never give up. Potential trap in action It means that you are likely to see the results of your actions, and the environment is likely to see the results of your actions. So people will say like, oh, you've made it and you are doing it with your students. You've just changed the lesson structure. I can see that you are just not using words, but you are taking an action. However, those feedback, sometimes positive, for example, when the people change different spheres of life, they hear things like, oh, you cut down on sweets. I can see that you're not devouring all the cakes from the dinner table. And people treat it as a signal that they've already accomplished the goal, and they stop trying to make the goal really stable in their life. And this is where people usually fail, because they say, okay, if all the people see, if all my teachers see that I'm using different digital solutions, or I'm just doing regular exercise with my students, so it means that I should stop working towards this goal because it's already there. No, it's not, because there is another phase which is called the maintenance. So maintenance, according to the trans-theoretical model, is like when you implement 100% of your plan and action and you are doing it more than 6 months. Okay, this is where you're in the maintenance state. And the tooth represents like dentist checkup visits at the dentist. You don't need daily support. All you need to do is, for example, to talk with your mentor or a person who is monitoring the project from time to time to see if you are in the right track, because you already know the action, you already know the plan, and what you need is to keep the momentum, okay? Just to go from the action into the maintenance. That's why by the end is written, it's not final, it's cessation. It's not cessation. And then looking at this design, and this is very, I would say, relieving and eye-opening, that people usually fall and make mistakes at least 3 or 4 times before they eventually go into this long and stable maintenance, at least 3 or 4 times. And the mistake means that, for example, you plan to implement new testing solutions or use new teaching platform in your class, okay? And you were successful, and then something happened and you failed. For example, you got negative feedback, or you failed with this keeping a diet. And what happens when you fail is people go back to the previous stage. Usually they go to the contemplation stage when they start thinking again, considering pros and cons, etc., etc. So the knowledge about mistakes that they are likely to happen, and you will go back to the planning and to the contemplation, for some people takes this weight off their shoulders, because they know, okay, I failed, and this is a part of a natural process. So what I need to do is I need to reconsider the failure and move back into the preparation and move back into the action and maintenance. The question is whether the appraisal will eventually come. I would say yes, if you are working with a very concrete project. For example, your plan is to have 50 or 25 new students in online teaching reality and prepare them by the end of 2024. So by the end of 2024, you can look at the register list, you can compare left to right to see if the criteria that you designed in the preparation have been met. And then just you go on. If the project is a live project, like for example, building a language schools or developing an extra educational skills through the next 5 years, so then this maintenance will play for you really important role, just to keep you going. In the course of time, there is an element that you could use, and you could use it with your student. And this is one of the most powerful elements, to use the courage that you have. And this is the definition of a courage, cognitive behavioral therapy. So sometimes people think that I'm not courageous enough to make the first step, or I'm not courageous enough to persevere in action when, for example, different people are telling me stories. Why are you doing it? It doesn't make sense. Stop. We are not in favor of this. And then you need courage to persevere. So in the first place, the question to answer is, what are your acts of courage? If you could use the chat and type it, business or professional, from your past. What are your acts of courage? Acts of courage means that situations that you did something that you were afraid to do, but you took action. Yeah? So what are your personal acts of courage? I said no. Yes. I survived CELTA. Yes. I changed career. I never gave up. So it would be good to have a list of your personal business. I continue to renew my licenses. Yes, I just resigned. And being a lecturer at university. Yes. So what you'll need probably when you take on the new venture in perseverance, and this is what you can teach your students in language classes. You can give them extra gifts. You can make a beautiful lesson on acts of courage, and you make a project, and just you put all your acts of courage. By the end of this talk, I will leave you with a simple tool that I hope you will use for yourself, but you will teach your students as well. So your personal acts of courage, and you'll have a lot. So you do something without experience. One of the biggest act of courage is to apologize or to ask for help. That I'm in the process for CELTA, or I'm in the process of opening the language school. I need help, please, because I lack motivation. I don't know what to do with the taxes. I have nothing, basic knowledge about financing. I don't know how to deal with online students, like asking for help. The act of courage is to use negative feedback in a constructive way. So there is in feedback, you have two realms: the ability to provide good feedback and the ability to receive the feedback, whatever the feedback is. So even if the feedback turned out to be negative, even in a harsh way, the act of courage was to step out and to use it in a constructive way. Or you could give it a kiss and it turns that you like it, for example, when you were a teenage kid. So personal acts of courage, like a stable elements, just sometimes they might give you this extra energy when you will need to persevere. And this is what Aaron Beck said, that the very good news is that you are still brave, and the fear that you experience that cannot erase the courage. It may mask the courage, or it could seem stronger than the courage, but it cannot eliminate it. So if you'll be going in this new direction and you'll get this anxiety or fear, and you'll say that I'm not courageous or I lost my courage, please remember that the courage is within you. The fear could mask it. And then what you need to do is you need to open the document and look at your acts of courage to see and to just bring the courage back to life. Okay, this is the point. The next element, because the research says that when you're trying to persevere, there are one most important element: to work with distractors. Okay, can you quickly Google the urge surfing in internet and provide a definition of urge surfing. What is the urge surfing? Or maybe you already know the urge surfing. Yes, yeah. Managing unwanted behaviors, mental technique, okay, to observe the urge without engaging it. That's true. So, how it works in reality? Once you persevere, you're trying to persevere in a project, and there is an urge, this donut on a table, or you're trying to finish your diploma project for your next classes. You are trying to design a plan for opening your new teaching online reality, whatever the personal project is. And sometimes there is this urge. So there is a mixture of feelings and thoughts that, oh, why don't I do something different? And there is this Netflix in the background, or there is your friend telling you, why don't you do a break? Because we could do something funny, etc. So what you do is like you accept the fact, imagine that you are the surfer, and knowing the physiology of the emotion, you will know that this wave will get stronger and will reach its peak where you'll be the weakest, because you'll have the tendency that I'm gonna close the computer and I'm gonna follow the urge. So what you can do is you can make an agreement with yourself and say like, okay, there is an urge for me to quit typing the Word document or quit doing the PowerPoint. That's okay. I can experience it, but you make an agreement with yourself that you will serve this urge for at least 15 minutes. Once the 15 minutes is over, if you still want it, then you can say, okay, I still want it, and you just do the action. Because 10, 15 minutes, usually for the people never experiencing this strategy in life, this is a good starting time. Once you feel stronger, or maybe you are already stronger right now, you can play with yourself with this urge, with surfing the urge lasting, for example, 60 minutes. Okay, so you are typing the project, and then it's like, oh, I think I'd like to stop and just clean my room. This is what happens usually with students, for example. And then it's like, okay, I will stop and clean my room, but I will keep on doing for the yet 60 minutes. And then if after the 60 minutes, I will still feel the need to do it, then I will do it. So this is one of the elements which will help you staying in action for a bit longer, because maybe once the 15 minutes is over, you will say to yourself that I don't feel like watching this Netflix right now anymore because I've got another inspiration. The second option that I want you to remember is temptation bundling. Google temptation bundling and share with me the definition of temptation bundling. What is the temptation bundling? Another useful tool in staying in action. Combining the activity, yes, with the one that is beneficial. Because if you want to persevere, so self-control, and you will meet distractors. And sometimes there are the things you really like doing, which are not in line with the goal you are trying to achieve. So how you create temptation bundling is like you take a piece of paper or a document in Word and you design a table with the two columns. Left column, you type all the things that you like doing and they give you this sensation of pleasure, something that is enjoyable for you. In the right column, you put all the things that you have to do to make this project you're working on realistic and just to move forward. Okay. And in some situations, these will be the things that are not the most enjoyable in life. Let's be honest. And then once you have these two tables, then you try to make a connection. If you connect an activity that is enjoyable with the activity that you can perform and will bring that this activity will bring you closer to your goal. And then people, for example, do like listening podcasts and running on a treadmill, reading books and doing something else. So the strategy at the very beginning is like things that you like doing, things that you have to do to push your project forward, and you're trying to combine. Usually people find 2 or 3 possible connections. And then you do something which is enjoyable, and you combine it with the thing that is giving you a fast forward action towards your goal. Listening to music and ironing, yes, Aurora, on condition that ironing, yes, is something that you have to do because your personal project could be, for example, small one, to have a very clean room by the end of the weekend, and there is a pile of laundry, and then you have your favorite music or your favorite podcast. This is the example of temptation bundling. Good. And you can put it in your teaching practice as well. The third element, last but one, is sometimes once you will be in your way towards your goal, a big one, because you can talk about small one and this long distance, like 2 years from now, that from time to time you will hear your brain saying things like, it doesn't really make sense for you to follow because it takes so much time. For example, that you are 40 or 50 or 60-year-old and you decide to do master thesis from a completely different discipline, and you'll get things like, stop trying to do it. Doesn't make sense. It's not the end. It's not the end. It's the tool for you. You need to wait. You need to wait a bit because thank you strategy is like when you experience the feeling inside of a critic is you say, thank you. I appreciate your thoughts. You thank your brain, but you say, I appreciate that you are worrying, that you are trying to prevent me from doing things, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I know that you are sensing a danger. Just I'm seeing that people thought that, oh, this is the end. It's not the end, it's almost the end. But thank you is like saying thank you to your brain for being alert, like acknowledging. The more you are trying to reject the negative thoughts, the stronger they will arrive to you. And this is the homework that I have for you. What I want you to do is I want you to cut out a piece of paper with your scissors. The size of this piece of paper should be the size that you could fold it and you could put it in your wallet. And you divide the piece of paper in 3 categories. You have the names of these categories. The first one is my compass. The second one is I've been here before. The third one is ideal self. And you just put a name or you put a graphic icons if you like drawing, and because it looks attractive. In my compass, on the other side, in the section my compass, you put all your core values about you as a person, as a teacher. What are your core values which guide you through life? Yeah. So something which is really true for yourself, and this is something that shows directions where you want to go. Okay. The next one is I've been here before. In these small sections, I want you to, on the other side, put stories from your life, from your past, that you thought to yourself like, oh my, when it was in the past, that you said like, oh, they were really challenging. And I was saying to myself, I think I'm not gonna make it. It's horrible. but you survived and you made it through. So I want you to put situations that are over in your life, that you accepted them and they made you stronger, a better person. But few years, months ago, depending on the time, you were saying things like, oh, I'm not sure I'm gonna make it. Yeah, for example, people saying that I was made redundant, for example, yes, and I lost my work. So you put the things there. The third category, ideal self. When you turn the paper, in the third option, you put description of you as a person, who you are in the perfect version of yourself. Yeah, this is like who you are in the perfect version of yourself. But not the perfect version of who you want to be, but the perfect version of yourself when everything is going by the numbers, when everything is okay at work, when everything is okay in your private and professional life. And then just you do it as a homework. What you then need to do is you put some transparent tape, you stick it, you fold it in three, and you keep it in your wallet. Because this is an optional activity, of course. Feel free to experiment it. I have mine. Because maybe there will be a time in your personal project pursuit that you will feel like giving up. That you will say to yourself, like, it doesn't make sense trying any harder because I don't see the reason to move forward. So then what you can do, you take this piece of paper and you look at the compass and you say, these are my true values, my DNA. This is what I truly believe in. How can these values help me in moving forward in my project? Okay. Or you look at this the second category. I've been here before, and you say, okay, I've survived these situations, so probably I will survive the one I'm facing right now as well. And the last one, you can ask yourself a question. Like if you feel like giving up, you have no energy, it doesn't make sense to you anymore, you ask yourself the question, what would my ideal self do in this type of situation? How would my ideal self behave in the situation right now? This is the question so that you will gain experience, because if you will face setbacks, the anxiety, the loss of motivation, the low energy, you will not be the ideal version of yourself. So then you need to ask this question, what would I do being ideal version of myself? And see if you would give up being the ideal version of yourself, or maybe you would say, I would ask someone for help and I would keep on doing. Okay, so the homework, and keep this paper in your wallet because you never know, you might need it in the future. So the final one, please remember to recharge. That's it. Recover the energy. So the self-regulation is also important, as you wrote at the very beginning. So this is the nice summary, I hope, beneficial for you, of the things when it comes to persevere in action. Pay attention to what types of goals do you make. Pay attention whether these are the approach goals, whether they are in conflict. Remember about the planning fallacy. Remember about the system of goals. Pay attention to earth surfing. Think about temptations bundling. Think about what you can do to persevere in action, to stay in one element. Choose the goals which are meaningful and manageable. And once you'll find yourself in a difficult situation, maybe you'll find in your pocket this small piece of paper with your core values, with the things you've survived, and with the ideal version of yourself. And this could potentially help you to persevere. Yes, Emilia, the recording of the webinar will be available on the Teacher Training Academy website, so you'll get it. You'll get an email from me with a certificate, with a survey, and with a session summary. So I will name all the activities that I mentioned so that you will remember it. Thanks a lot for being with me. I need to redesign the thank you slide, I know, because that was not the end, but that was a really wonderful experience. I have still my own puppets, so given by my son, so it means that they worked well. Experiment with the knowledge, just try to persevere in action, and I look forward to seeing you in the forthcoming sessions, which will be very related to the language reality and dealing with international certificate. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the rest of your day. We will be in touch. Happy Easter. Yep. Yes, you'll get the recording on the Teacher Training Academy website. You'll have all the recordings there, so you'll have chance to watch the session multiple times. Thanks a lot. And you'll get a certificate via email. Yes, you'll get the certificate via email. Thanks a lot. Bye.